This is 2022, and the chance is that your food and groceries expenses are far more than it was in 2019, 2020, and 2021. There has been a massive food price increase over the recent years, and many are asking questions about this. One intriguing thing about this price increase is that it's not actually occurring in just Canada, UK, and the United States. It's a global phenomenon. We don't want to see you frustrated when next you visit the grocery store, as your budget will not be enough. The high price of food is forcing consumers to make difficult decisions such as visiting food banks. The increase in food prices is also putting pressure on the food banks as a lot of people are unable to feed properly. This brings us to the question, why is this happening? Welcome to Savvy Economists. In this video, we will discuss the other true reason why food prices are rising everywhere. Don't forget to please watch, like, and share this video if you enjoy it. Also, leave your comments and thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more related content similar to this. The average annual increase in food costs since the start of the 21st century has been between 2% and 3%. While restaurant food prices have grown 2.8%, grocery store prices have increased just 2%. However, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics' most current consumer price index data, food costs increased 10.4% between June 2021 and June 2022. Almost all food items have increased in price. For instance, the cost of cereal increased by 15% in June compared to the same month last year, and the cost of eggs rose by 33%. These price increases occur not just in the food items we mentioned, but also in various ones such as grains, vegetable oils, butter, pasta, coffee, and a few more. The price rises have impacted all. It's not unexpected that many families are curious about why food costs are growing and how this may affect their food expenses. Consumers currently seeing the greatest strain on their home budgets in a generation are all trying to understand what could be the cause. Aside from some consumers, some experts also link these factors as some of the causes of the food price upsurge we are facing in 2022. There are a number of reasons why food prices are increasing. Let's start with the COVID-19 pandemic. We are all aware of how the 2020 pandemic affected many things, including food prices. During the pandemic, there was an increased food cost of 3.3% in 2020. A 4.4% increase in meat, fish, poultry, and eggs was mostly responsible for this. Dairy products contributed significantly to the increase, increasing by 3.8%. In March, most countries' governments proclaimed a national emergency, the sit-at-home. This made many people stocked up on food and started preparing meals at home rather than going out to eat. This increased the demand for home and self-prepared meals. As nations closed their borders to impede the virus's spread, exports and imports were hampered. There was a decrease in supplies due to limited food supply systems. Also, since there was high food demand from people staying at home, many food producers tried to adapt their businesses to accommodate grocery customers. However, many couldn't keep up. Many food producers who were struck by labor turnover, expenditures to safeguard products from pollution, and additional worker training expenses all contributed to an increase in the cost of food manufacturing. As merchants placed hurried purchases to keep shelves in malls and shops filled, the cost of transporting these foods to processors and grocery shops also went up. There was basically a cut in food demand and supply, which is now affecting the present. Another reason for the surge in food prices will be the Russia and Ukraine conflict. It may be surprising to you, but the conflict between Russia and Ukraine also contributes to the upsurge in food prices in some countries. Since these two countries are known for their high importation of petroleum and grains, developing economies are severely hurt. As the breadbasket of Europe, Ukraine and Russia provide food imports that many developing and emerging market nations rely on to supplement domestic food production. Let's take, for instance, the largest producer of sunflower oil in the world is Ukraine. Together with Russia, it accounts for more than half of all vegetable oil exports worldwide. Additionally, the region exports 36% of the world's wheat. This alone affects the price of sunflower, wheat, and other food produced with them. Turkey, Vietnam, and Indonesia were the top 3 importers of Russian wheat in 2018. Similarly, that year, Indonesia, the Philippines, and Morocco were the top 3 importers of Ukrainian wheat. Therefore, the war's instability will have a negative impact on the countries that import this food. Also, the supply of important essential goods has drastically decreased due to the sanctions imposed on Russia. Since Russia is known to export a good number of these goods, which includes legumes, cereals, barley, and a few others. As a result, these food costs have increased globally, especially in countries relying solely on them. Countries with developing economies seem to have been struck the hardest by food shortages brought on by the war. The Global Food Price Index, FPI, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, increased from 17.9 points, 12.6% in February to an average of 159.3 points in March 2022. Since the launch of this program in 1990, this has been recorded highest level. The most recent increase highlights the direct harm caused by the conflict by reflecting new all-time highs for cereals, 170.1 points, and vegetable oils, 248.6 points. According to statistics at the national level, Sub-Saharan Africa experienced the most increase in food price inflation between February and March 2022. Over this time, during February and March, countries like Lebanon, Zimbabwe, and Turkey had the greatest rates of food price inflation because Russia and Ukraine were their major importers. Aside the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the increase in the price of fertilizer globally is also responsible. High levels of energy are absorbed by agriculture both directly through the use of fuel, gas, and electricity, as well as indirectly through the use of agrochemicals such as fertilizers, pesticides, and lubricants. There has been a drastic increase in the price of fertilizer. Since 2020, the prices of some fertilizers have increased by 300%. Last year, most farmers were purchasing a ton of fertilizers for about $270 per ton, but now it costs a whopping of over $1,400 per ton. That's about an $1,130 difference within a short time. Since a higher percentage of farmers' expenditures, about 18% to 20%, are on fertilizers, chemicals, and seeds, when those expenses are that high, these farmers have no choice but to pass the cost to consumers, resulting in a high cost of food, especially organic grown foods and their byproducts. You might be wondering, why grow healthy crops with fertilizers? Well, here's the thing, you can't grow industrial crops without fertilizers, especially those in large quantities. However, certain crops use less fertilizers than others, such as legumes, soybeans, peas, and chickpeas. However, without fertilizer, the crop won't earn much. Moreover, healthy synthetic fertilizers supply plants with nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. These are nitrogen fertilizers made with potassium nitrate, commonly called potash. Now, the U.S. produces nitrogen fertilizers, however, they import potash from countries like Russia and Belarus. This brings us back to Russia being a contributing factor to it. Many other nations rely on Russia and Belarus for their potash. Both Russia and Belarus export over 40% of the potash worldwide. For instance, Brazil receives 85% of its fertilizer from Belarus and Russia. Unfortunately, they are out of fertilizer. You should know that Russia exports more than just potash. Together, the exports of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium-based fertilizers from Russia and Ukraine total 28%. After the sanctions were imposed on Russia due to its invasion of Ukraine, the delays in supplies and prices shot up. And it's incredible how the world relies solely on Russian and Ukrainian fertilizers for food survival. The question is on the lips of everyone is whether food prices will decrease. It might. It might not. Some experts say there will be a food price decrease in 2023, while some say that food prices will continue to increase. None of these has been proven yet. However, we are certain of one thing. If there is understanding and peace between Russia and Ukraine, food and item importation will return to normal. But then, food manufacturers are saying that decreasing prices is not so easy as it might be expensive to do so, and even if they do, some retailers will still prefer to stick to the higher price for extra gain. How much are you currently spending on food compared to a year ago? Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Thank you for watching. See you next time.